It was a peaceful Sunday evening in early autumn. My son Dylan and I were finally settling in for a much-anticipated dinner. Perfectly grilled salmon with fresh herbs and lemon, a precious moment of connection we rarely got to share these days. He had just finished an exhausting double shift as a 911 dispatcher, and I was genuinely grateful to have his company, even if just for a simple meal. The tranquility of that moment, however, was destined to be short-lived. The first warning came as an auditory intrusion, the distinctive, assertive sound of high heels deliberately striking our wooden front porch, each step resonating with unmistakable purpose. Then came the knock, or rather, the aggressive pounding. This wasn't the gentle tapping of a friendly neighbor stopping by to borrow sugar. This was the authoritative, demanding rap you might associate with law enforcement serving official documents. When I opened the door, I found myself face-to-face with Vivian Baxter, widely known as our HOA's most zealously active board member, standing there with an air of official importance, clutching a clipboard in her manicured left hand and, most alarmingly, what appeared to be a fluorescent greenhouse key in her right. Her expression carried that particular brand of self-satisfaction that only comes from believing you've caught someone in a grievous violation. The kind of smug certainty that suggests you're about to exercise some imagined authority. The irony, of course, was that I hadn't done anything wrong, not even close. ####. Drawing herself up to her full height and adopting what I can only describe as her most officious tone, she declared, according to HOA Code subsection 14C, making sure to emphasize each syllable, all properties must comply with standardized lock systems for emergency access. I stood there for a moment, processing this bizarre statement. What? I finally managed to respond, genuinely confused by this unexpected proclamation. With an air of barely contained condescension, Vivian launched into an explanation about how she possessed a master key, supposedly a universal HOA-issued key designed to provide access to every single house in our development. She went on to assert, with increasing indignation, that my house was apparently non-compliant with this supposed requirement. I responded with measured politeness but unmistakable firmness. My home was equipped with professionally installed, completely legal locks, and I had absolutely no recollection or record of ever agreeing to any arrangement involving a universal master key system. Completely dismissing my reasonable objections, Vivian took an aggressive step forward and forcefully inserted the key into my front door lock. When it failed to turn, she began manipulating it with increasing desperation, jiggling it back and forth, yanking it with growing frustration, and attempting multiple times to make it work. After several failed attempts that left my lock slightly scratched, she pulled out her phone with dramatic flair and proceeded to dial 911. ####. In what can only be described as an incredible twist of timing, Dylan, my son, who was still sitting at our dinner table barely 10 feet from the front door, happened to be back on call that evening, covering an unexpected shift for a colleague who had called in sick. His work phone suddenly illuminated with an incoming call. He answered with his usual professional demeanor. 911, what's your emergency? He responded, maintaining his composed dispatcher voice. Through the speaker of Dylan's phone, we could clearly hear her voice echoing with unmistakable indignation. Yes, I'm trying to enter this house, my house, and this man is preventing me. I have a master key. I'm on the HOA board. Her voice carried a mixture of entitlement and frustration that was almost theatrical. Dylan's eyebrow arched skeptically as he maintained his professional composure. Ma'am, could you clarify? Are you currently inside the home? Her response came back sharp and immediate. No, he's blocking the door and refusing to let me in. With careful precision, Dylan asked the crucial question, Ma'am, I need to verify. Is your name listed on the property title? There was a telling moment of hesitation before she responded with a defensive, No, but I. Dylan cut her off with firm professionalism. Ma'am, please remain at your current location. Officers will be dispatched to the scene shortly. After muting the call, Dylan turned to me with a knowing look, already anticipating our next move. Should I get the doorbell camera footage queued up? I have a feeling we're going to need it. Hashtag, hashtag, hashtag. Within a remarkably short time, two uniformed patrol officers arrived at the scene. The moment they stepped onto the porch, Vivian launched into an elaborate performance, attempting to portray herself as the wrong party. She claimed that I had displayed aggressive behavior and was refusing lawful HOA entry, to which she was supposedly entitled. Fortunately, my doorbell security camera had captured the entire incident in perfect detail. Her forceful attempts with the unauthorized key, the confrontational nature of her approach, and most importantly, the fabricated HOA code she had cited with such conviction. One of the officers, maintaining a professional but notably skeptical tone, addressed her directly. "Ma'am, can you provide documentation of any legal authority that would grant you permission to enter this private residence?" Vivian's confident facade began to crack as she stumbled over her words. Well, it's clearly stated in the HOA rules and regulations." The truth hung in the air like a heavy curtain. Spoiler alert, no such rule had ever existed in our HOA bylaws. Hashtag, hashtag, hashtag. The consequences for Vivian's actions were swift and severe. She found herself facing formal charges of attempted trespassing and misuse of emergency services. But the situation became even more damaging for her reputation when other residents of our community began stepping forward with their own stories. It came to light that she had been systematically employing similar intimidation tactics with at least 6 other homeowners in our development, issuing completely fabricated fines, conducting unauthorized property checks, and making numerous unsolicited attempts to gain entry to private homes. The HOA board quickly convened an emergency session to address the situation. The outcome was decisive. Vivian was immediately removed from her position on the board, and her unauthorized master key initiative was thoroughly investigated and completely dismantled. The final revelation about the key added an almost absurd element to the entire situation. Far from being any kind of official master key, it was nothing more than a cheap skeleton key replica she had purchased from an online security gadget retailer, apparently thinking she could use it to intimidate residents into compliance with her made-up rules. Hashtag, hashtag, hashtag. What began as an outrageous confrontation on my front porch evolved into a powerful lesson about standing up to unauthorized authority. This incident perfectly illustrates how certain individuals attempt to exploit others' uncertainty about their rights, hiding behind fabricated rules and false claims of authority to exert control. I can't help but wonder, if I hadn't had the foresight to install that doorbell camera, or if my son hadn't coincidentally been the dispatcher that evening, how many other homeowners might have fallen victim to similar intimidation tactics. Therefore, I want to share this crucial message with anyone who might find themselves dealing with overreaching HOA representatives or neighborhood bullies who attempt to abuse their positions. Know your rights inside and out. Take serious measures to secure your property. And always maintain documentation to protect yourself when confronted with unreasonable demands. Asterisk, asterisk. This is more than just a house. It's my home, purchased with years of hard work and dedication. And I can assure you, no unauthorized master key will ever succeed in opening the door to harassment or intimidation in this household.